22 weeks, my water broke. The doctor that I had, my OBGYN, she said, okay, well, there's two things we can do. We can, do nothing and you'll deliver. And at 22 weeks, he's not going to survive. Or we can transfer you to another hospital and they can try to keep you pregnant as long as possible to give him a chance. And I was like, obviously, option 2 is the one we want. Why is option 1 even being given? But yes, option 2, please. It was very miraculous there.
Your water breaks and you're only 22 weeks pregnant, and the doctors tell you your baby won't survive unless you fight every single day for 7 long weeks. Lauren Pope, our next guest, chose to fight. And nearly 2 months later, her son was born at 29 weeks. Tiny, fragile, yet very much alive and healthy. Today, he's a thriving 20-year-old young man. But that moment shaped not just her family, but her mission. Now, as the executive director of Rehumanize International, Lauren is leading the movement grounded in radical empathy and the consistent life ethic, defending human dignity at every single stage. Please welcome our next guest, Lauren Pope. This is Living Pro-Life. Hello and welcome Lauren Pope to the program. So excited to have you here on Living Pro-Life. Welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Well, Lauren, you're doing a lot of work in the pro-life field, and I think you just got a new job there at Rehumanize. So welcome to the pro-life movement's leadership. We're excited that you're here.
Thank you.
So I know you do a lot with Rehumanize. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But one of the things I was very intrigued about was your very first pregnancy. And I know that there's a bit of a story there. So tell us the first part of that story.
Yeah, absolutely. So my oldest son, first of all, just a little bit of tiny context. My husband and I got married in college. We just started off running, right? And so we were pregnant with our first son, and it was sort of a disaster. Like everything that could go wrong started going wrong. I was having a lot of complications, which kind of culminated in at 22 weeks, my water broke. And at that point, I knew very little about anything related to that other than what you see on movies, where if your water breaks, you have your baby, and that is just what happens. And so, of course, we thought that was what was going to happen, that we were going to lose him. But thankfully, the doctor that I had, my OBGYN, when I went in and confirmed that my water had broken, that was what happened. She said, okay, well, there's two things we can do. We can, do nothing and you'll deliver. And at 22 weeks, he's not going to survive. Or we can transfer you to another hospital and they can try to keep you pregnant as long as possible to give him a chance. And I was like, obviously, option 2 is the one we want. Why is option 1 even being given? But yes, option 2, please. And so they transferred me over. And then I had a really great maternal fetal medicine team. They were able to keep me pregnant for 7 more weeks. And so he was born at 29 weeks. He was very, very tiny, but did very well. He is now a grown man and in good health, and it has had really no lasting complications from my water being broken that early. His lungs actually were very well developed for a preemie. He didn't even have to be on a ventilator or anything. It was very miraculous there.
Incredible. Well, you called him a grown man. How old is he now?
He's 20. He's 20 years old.
20.
I feel mostly grown, right?
my kids are just behind that, but I'm not sure if I would call myself a grown man at the age of 20.
I was going to say, what are we considering at this point?
You look so young. You're so young.
I know. Like I said, we got started early and have the young genes too.
That's incredible. Incredible. So I'm actually interested in these 7 weeks in the hospital. You spent 7 full weeks in the hospital. Tell me about that.
Yeah, 7 full weeks in the hospital. So I was at Baylor All Saints in Fort Worth, and they, at the time, didn't really even have a dedicated perinatal unit. We were just sort of in labor and delivery. And for the first immediately they had to stabilize me, right? So because when I went in, I was having contractions, I was having some dilation. So they gave me some medication to try to stop that like initial actually being in labor, which was like magnesium sulfate and, steroids and all these things, which are not super fun, but were successful in stopping that active labor. And then after that, they had me on just like a lower dose of medications to sort of keep my uterus from being overly irritable. And so that was some stuff that wasn't terrible to be on, but it did kind of make you a little, low blood pressure and that sort of thing. And I was on bed rest. So initially it was complete, total bed rest. Couldn't get up, couldn't, do anything.
Wow.
But then after that first week when they had, and I had antibiotics and all that, after that first week, then they started saying, okay, you can get up to take a shower in the little sit chair. They could push me in the wheelchair. So I would go down to the chapel and like out to the courtyard and, in the wheelchair and that sort of thing. For several weeks, I had that sort of setup where I was in bed most of the day, most days, but I could have a little bit of being upright occasionally until probably a week or two before I actually delivered, where I was starting to have more like irritability, more contractions and that sort of thing. And then they went back to, no, we need to have you on bed rest all the time. Don't get up. And so we went back to that. And this was before like Wi-Fi existed or anything, right? So I was in the hospital, basically just me and like old reruns of ER was what I was doing.
Well, I mean, so a lot of women may not go through all of this, right? They may say, hey, there's no way I'm going to spend 7 weeks in the hospital, regardless of how good ER is. Right.
It was George Clooney era. Okay.
Well,
so I'm
okay. Right. Yeah. He was great in ER. That's for sure. Yeah. But, I'm not sure about the programs these days, but, no matter how great those shows are or watching television or sitting in the hospital for that time, how great that might be. I mean, that's quite a sacrifice to spend that much time and patience to be able to do that. But not everybody is going to make that decision, right?
Right. No. And I mean, there's also, I know it was a lot easier for me specifically because he was our first child, right? So we didn't have other kids at home who we were having to figure out childcare and, how they would deal with mom being gone for all this time. And I do know, because I've since gotten involved in kind of like peer support groups and that sort of thing, that sometimes some doctors, especially with earlier ruptures, if people are stable, they'll say, okay, you can go home and be on home bed rest, just stay close, take your temperature, that sort of thing. So sometimes they'll be a little bit more flexible with that. But I mean, it absolutely is a sacrifice, and it's a situation that can turn very dangerous very quickly, right? Because once your water ruptures, then they need to be very closely monitoring for infection, and they need to be monitoring for things like cord prolapse and stuff like that. So basically, when it happens, you enter into a very different type of pregnancy situation than, a standard one. It's pretty much the most dangerous, I would say, ongoing emergency pregnancy complication, because it can continue on for so many weeks per year.
Just for the listeners, again, we're talking to Lauren Pope at Rehumanize, a brand new executive director at Rehumanize. And we're talking about something called, is it P-PROM? Is that what it's called?
P-PROM, which is preterm premature rupture of membranes.
Very good. Very good. And you had some conversations out on social media about this, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's something that comes up occasionally right now, especially after Dobbs, is because sometimes what tends to happen is this condition is mismanaged. And there have been several cases where doctors, because they were not really properly trained in how to do expectant management correctly, have done things like send women away without, giving them antibiotics or anything like that, which could become a very dangerous situation very quickly. And so one of the things that I personally am trying to impress upon the medical establishment at large is we have got to train doctors on how to manage this, because before Dobbs, there was a big subset of doctors who they would just immediately induce, and that's how they treated it. That was like what they were taught to do. That's what they did. That's what they knew. And so now those doctors, because of the abortion laws, are like, well, I don't know if I can do that. but they don't know what they should do instead that's going to protect both the mother and the child. And so getting that information out is really important.
So tell us about Rehumanize. Tell me about the work that you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So Rehumanize International, we are a consistent life ethic group. Basically, we say we want to support, from conception until natural death to make sure all lives are free from aggressive violence. In that includes obviously abortion, embryonic destruction through IVF and, research, that sort of thing, but also issues like the death penalty or euthanasia or anything that involves the destruction of human life. We oppose.
Great. And so how does that manifest? Do you go to churches, schools, street corners? What is, or the latest social media platform?
So we obviously have social media. You can find us at Rehumanize INTL, basically across, all spaces. And we do have a very active presence there. But we also will go to colleges, we'll table, conferences. We will do direct protesting. You'll find us at March for Life. We were just recently at the vigil to end the nuclear danger in DC because another issue related to that. And then also we have our publications. So we have our Life Matters Journal, which is a quarterly magazine where we talk about all of these life issues. We also have our blog where we, again, talk about a lot of these issues in sort of shorter form ways, and just basically are giving people as much information about these different topics as we can.
Well, and I think you're a writer as well. You write for several magazines, and so you're a shoo-in for this kind of work, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely. The writing is, even before me, like our founder, executive director, Amy Murphy, also was an author. She's published 2 books that we have at Rehumanize. So that is a very natural tie-in. Yeah, I have written we have a contest every year that's called Create Encounter. That's actually how I got involved in Rehumanize. I was the prose winner for that one year with one of my pieces. So we really do try to encourage both writing and the arts and that kind of expression within the pro-life movement.
Well, and you were on the board of directors before that. And, I tell people to be really careful when you get on the board of directors because they might hire you full time.
Yeah, exactly. If you become too good of a board member and then all of a sudden.
Wait, she's too helpful. We should just hire her. We'll put her on staff.
Exactly.
So at home, you've got 5 more children, right? You've got a total of 6. So
total of 6.
There's a lot of people talking about big families now. Even Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, along with Elon Musk, whether they're getting along today or not, I don't know. But they're all talking about this thing called "We want more babies." Like the least eloquent slogan ever, but here we are. Right, we want more babies.
More children.
Right. So tell me, having 6 children, and I know you said you started a little early. So is it okay, like, to have bigger families? 6 children big? And if so,
I mean, it depends on, what environment you're in, right? There's like the Jim Gaffigan sketch where he talks about once you have 4 children, people start to look at you like you're odd and like they think that you have some sort of weird belief system, like you're a Quaker or something, And so you definitely get that. I mean, people obviously will make some assumptions about you when they find out that you have 6 children. Some of them wrong because we're actually not Catholic, but everyone assumes we are. I mean, across the board. So there's sometimes, things like that. But I think that, it was a situation where it wasn't like I was like, I want to have 6, 7 kids, something like that. It was more just having an openness to having more children as they came. And it just happened to be that we have 6 of them. And their age range now are my youngest is 6 and the oldest is 20. So we're really in the thick of it all.
So what would be your piece of advice for, parents who are, starting out early and thinking about, planning that family and what are God's plans for them? So tell me about kind of that advice you might give them.
So I would say you will grow into it, right? Because unless it is truly a, out of the ordinary miraculous situation. You're not going to have 6 all at once, right? And so you grow into your capabilities, you grow into your knowledge and comfort as a parent as they go. And also there are the different phases of life that the children have, so that they start having the ability to be more self-sufficient and that sort of thing as well. So I think the way that mine are spaced too, they're about 2 years apart at the closest. And so I never had the experience like I have some friends who have, where they have 4 under 4 and they are just really, like drowning in diapers and all that. So I think that there are ways to structure that are a little easier, but just you really do grow as a parent. And so even if you have just your first baby and you're like, oh my gosh, I cannot imagine how anybody does this with more than one child. It's so overwhelming. Like, you will develop more skills, you'll develop more feel to how you can get things done and that kind of thing. And then also like putting in place systems. I kind of am the type of person who likes to be like freewheeling and hippy dippy, but like really having systems in place is helpful. So that's
Lauren's the freewheeling hippy dippy. Is that what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Put that on there.
We'll put that on your byline, right?
Amazing.
Right?
Amazing. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's get back to the thing at hand. Okay. You have a brand new educational program at Rehumanize. So tell me about the program.
Okay, so we are very excited for this. It is called Voices for Life and Justice, and it's a series for activists in the making. So this is a Zoom series, a virtual series. We're trying to make it very accessible to everyone. And basically, this came about from the feeling that people have where they're like, oh, that's terrible. I am like so upset about this thing, and I have no idea what I could possibly do to affect any kind of change in this. So we're going to be talking to people from across, our consistent life ethics spectrum. We're going to be talking to Herb, who's now a secular pro-life, formerly Rehumanize. He's going to be doing a talk. We're going to be talking in just the next couple of weeks with Jason Jones with the Vulnerable People Project about the work he's doing on the ground. All over the world, really, feeding children. And then also I have some politicians that we're going to be talking about if you want to get involved in local politics and that's how you feel like you can affect change. So basically just giving people an entry point into going from, wow, this is awful, and I'm sharing this graphic on Instagram, to actually doing something where you feel like you're making more of a difference.
Perfect.
Yes.
Well, so one of the last things I want to chat with you about is this big conference you have coming up as well. That's in October, right?
Yes, very end of October, actually, Halloween going into All Saints Day. We have some merch on our website already that says natural death to all humans. So, because they're natural, right? Like, we don't want people to die beforehand. So spooky.
Wow.
Look, we have some pro-life stuff.
That's fair.
We're kind of leaning into the idea of All Saints Day and all of that sort of thing, and like kind of respecting life from that memento mori perspective. But it's going to be at the Leadership Institute in DC. We are going to be there from Friday evening to Sunday afternoon, have a lot of great speakers talking about a lot of these different issues, because like I said, we definitely have our roots and our foundation in the anti-abortion movement. We also do talk to a lot of different organizations, different groups that talk about different life issues. And so we'll have some of that as well.
So this is mainly for participants. If someone wants to sponsor, can they also sponsor or partner with you as well?
Absolutely. We have tabling sponsorships. We have a whole thing of how, if you want to become a sponsor, if you want a table, if you want to sponsor a meal, if you want to do that, we have all that information. And that also is on the website under the conferences.
Awesome. Incredible. And so is this a new conference, or have you done this before? Tell me more.
No. We've done our conference. We have had our annual conference. This will be, I believe, the 10th annual, maybe 11th. They went virtual for a little while during the, COVID times, but this one will actually be a hybrid event. So we will obviously have our in-person portion, but they will be live streamed and that sort of thing. And we'll have a mechanism also for downloading those sessions afterwards as well. Incredible
news. Well, anything else you want to tell us about Rehumanize, the work that's happening, or anything in, really anything about the pro-life movement?
So So just the last thing is we actually have a chapters organization. So if you want to get involved in a local way, we are always expanding that. We just recently opened chapters in the UK and Ireland, and they're doing a lot of work there right now, especially related to the euthanasia bills in the UK. So if you are interested in starting a chapter locally and you'd like some support about that, you can find out more information on our websites under chapters.
Well, thank you very much. We were speaking with Lauren Pope at Rehumanize International. Thank you, Lauren, for being on the program. Appreciate it.
Thank you.